Welcome, Louise. I appreciate your time this afternoon and to talk all things rhythm and rituals in relationship to family daycare. So I
Thank
wonder,
you.
pleasure. I wonder if we might start by if you could share with us a little bit about your background and relationship to
Relationship to
family daycare.
Mm. Well, first of all, I want to let everybody know that I am on Wurundjeri Wurrung country of the Kulin Nation in Naarm. Some of you may know as in Melbourne. I have Reggie, my dog, over here. So if he barks, that's just him telling me it's dinner time. Now, family daycare is one of my all-time favourite topics, Kelly, because I was an approved provider for many years and two different services. I ended up doing a lot of training for family daycare educators and approved providers all around the country, speaking about deregulating fees and how to run a successful business.
Amazing. I thought of you immediately when I was thinking about putting together this presentation. And what's one of your highlights when you look back on your time with family daycare? What's one of the things that you would say sets it apart or makes it different?
Well, interesting question, Kelly, because I was always from long daycare and kindergarten, and I always viewed family daycare as, say, the poor cousin, because
Right.
no one had sold it to me. I was sitting next to the approved provider of a family daycare service. She never once said, "Come and I'll show you. Our this option is an excellent option." She never did. When I started in family daycare, I was so shocked, embarrassingly so, when I first went to a first family daycare home. I just thought, why have I put particularly one of my children in long daycare when he should have gone to family daycare? The small group, the flexible routines, the care, the there's no person leaving at 3 o'clock and handing over to someone else. When the
Mm,
parent
mm.
drops the child off in the morning, that to the family daycare educator, that educator is the one at 6 p.m. when the parent is there picking up the child. So
Yeah,
all of these extraordinary benefits.
yeah. And I imagine just that relationship component is
Ah,
enhanced because you're much smaller grouping and also that more regularity and continuity of engagement, right?
absolutely, relationships. And also the family daycare educator sometimes cared and educated for not only that child, but their siblings.
Yeah,
And
that's
some were doing it for decades. And
yeah,
they know the family so well. They're invited to the parties on the weekend. If you
yeah.
go there on a Monday morning, you can hear all the rich conversations from the educator to the family. How did your mum go with that procedure? How did he go on the footy camp? You were so
Yeah,
worried about it. That just reinforces what you're talking about, the rich,
yeah, yeah.
authentic relationships.
In New Zealand, we have a word called whānau, extended
Mm,
family, and that
mm,
doesn't necessarily mean by blood, and it reminds me of that close connection. Uh,
exactly. And Kelly, can I tell you, when I first started in family daycare, all the educators, I had one meeting with them, and they all, well, the loud one said to me, do not want you to turn us into mini centres,
mm,
because that's what I was thinking that we would do, because they were just part of the regulations. They've always been part of the accreditation system, and
yeah,
they were also the regulations introduced the certificate 3 as well. So
yeah.
they were new to all of those requirements. And I was just so shocked that there is no way I would try to turn them into little mini centres.
No.
They are a unique care and education service on their own.
Yeah, so good. So our session today has been talking about this idea of rituals and rhythms in early childhood or early childhood experiences. And one of the things that I guess I've been highlighting is how a routine or our natural rhythm in a day can elevate ordinary moments by being intentional.
Mm.
And when we think about a daily routine in a home context, what comes to mind when you think of opportunities a family daycare educator would have to elevate the daily routine?
They have more. Can I tell you? Let's be honest,
Yeah.
because it's more flexible. They don't have to worry about another educator. They don't have to worry about, well, I can't read that story because I'm going on a break in 5 minutes. I
Mm,
can't, I can't talk to that parent because I know that I'm going to planning. Family daycare educators are responsible for the whole day, and the
yeah.
routines can be so rich and, as you said, intentional. Would you like me to give you some examples?
Yeah, I'd love some examples.
So, when a parent drops off the child, usually they the parents usually sign on, the child signs on. Usually, the child can get their lunchbox out themselves and put either the, say, for example, the foods that need to be refrigerated, they
Yeah.
have a separate spot in the fridge, like a a shelf,
Yeah.
and then they'll put their drink in a certain area. So, and this starts from when they're really young, when they're toddlers, because they watch the older children, and this is such a sense of pride and
Yeah.
security for the child. And also, the parent is quite shocked. Wow, Wasabi knows where to put that in the fridge, and she knows there's cheese in the sandwich, which needs to be refrigerated. So, that is the first part of just entering the home.
Yeah, agency gets really elevated because there's that sense of that very capable image of children to participate in day-to-day life, right?
Exactly,
Love.
exactly. And how smart are they to? And just when I would go and visit, and I first saw this, I said, "Oh my goodness, this child knows about dairy, knows where to put what, knows to put the drink bottle over there." And the educators would go, "Yeah, duh." And I said, "Where is this written? It might be written on the routine, why aren't you highlighting the learning? There's so much learning there, as you said, the agency, the child's
Yeah,
identity, all of that." So
yeah,
that's the first little bit of routine. Then the educator knows that child so well that usually the all the resources are accessible to the children. They know the children go to where they are and get them out. They're not necessarily out for
yeah,
children that have been there for a long time. The educator knows that they're competent enough to actually know where it is. They know that the train set is in that cupboard, and they know where to get it.
yeah.
Mm.
Just
So that's
free
the second
access.
part of the routines. Yeah.
Love that. And what about when you think about the daily routine and transitions? So there's movement between sleep or rest and the different
Mm.
aging of children, age groups. Have you seen or noticed any practices that you would say bring a real sense of intentionality to
Mm.
those moments instead of it just falling into a daily
Mm.
habit?
Well, absolutely. So the educator looks at the age and the stage of the child, and when that child, say, Mercedes, when she needs the nap. And so she'll work around, well, let's do morning tea now because Mercedes is here. She doesn't come tomorrow, she comes today, and we can work around that. And, or
Mm,
it might be playgroup. So let's look at, we might go to playgroup a little bit later because Mercedes won't be awake then. So they're able to fit in with each child's rhythm and routine throughout the day because of the small group.
yeah. So interesting. And I'm thinking about there's this, word ritual that's been around now for a few years, hasn't it? Like
Mm,
everybody's
mm,
talking about rituals, making something more extraordinary from the everyday.
mm,
And I think maybe this is not about context, it's about the purpose of the educator,
mm,
um, bringing some magical moments to something like small grouping or an
mm,
intentional learning moment with children, or it could be about the drifting off to sleep routine.
mm.
Um, can you share some ideas that might work well in those sort of contexts around a ritual?
Mm. Well, once again, each child would be catered for in their own way, and each educator's different. So, I had a group of, well, at where the service where I worked, very culturally diverse educators. So, because of their background, their rituals, their routines, their
Mm.
experiences would be different,
Yeah,
uh, depending on the country where they were born, which benefited the children so much. So they
yeah,
might be part of talking about Ramadan. They might be part of Chinese New Year in a really authentic way.
yeah.
And each educator would provide a different type of environment and different context authentic to that particular child or children.
I love that. So important to bring yourself, but
Mm.
also I guess, having that beautiful, tight relationship with families. You're actually
Mm,
going to learn
exactly.
a bit more about those cultural contexts, aren't
Mm,
you? You're
exactly.
you're well known, Louise, for um your props and your ability to bring something, um I'm going to say, the energy into a moment. I'm going to call that a ritual.
Mm,
So what are some things when you think about purposeful learning experiences in a family daycare context that are
mm,
quite um useful to engage in?
mm. As in with props or
Like, I'm thinking when you look at, like, in a kindergarten program, they'll have a group time. It might not
mm,
look like that in a family daycare
okay.
context.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
if you're planning a little bit more of an intentional learning
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
what are some of the ideas that might come for that?
Mm. Well, with family daycare, because it's part of their curriculum is taking some of the children to kindergarten, taking some of the children to school, because remember they have school age children as well.
Mm.
So part of the ritual is that morning ritual of walking to kinder or school and the learning opportunities. It's not just, oh, we have to drop off the beta.
Yeah,
Because I've walked with these educators and because they do it daily, it's the children are so competent, but the learning is so rich walking to kinder. Like, what do we see? Look at the numbers of the houses. Look, that house yesterday was only half finished. Look how, the builders are there and look how much they've done. The constant interaction, the talking, looking at the seasons. So
yeah,
you don't get in long daycare and kindergarten. They will go out, but not daily,
yeah,
and
yeah.
they go to playgroup daily. And when you're talking about energy, there's a lot of family daycare educators that are so, they're introvert. They have energy within.
Mm,
Sometimes when I go and visit, I have to purposely be quiet because their environment is so um, calm and
yeah,
beautiful. They don't need me. I often just sit, listen, and learn. Like
yeah,
you know some of the educators, Marty, So
yeah,
often I would not announce. I would pop in unannounced, which is part of
yeah,
our job as well. And for example, Marty might be making a cake with the children, all different ages. The baby's on crawling near the table. The toddler's mixing this. The older children are reading the recipe.
yeah,
That is just, you don't need someone with a lot of energy and loud. It's just all authentic and beautiful. And Kelly, I have learned so much from these educators. And
yeah.
I just look at their environment, the rituals, the routines, they're calm, and it caters to every child.
Yeah, and what I grab from that too is that opportunity in daily life encounters
Yeah.
to take notice of those little things, like the letterbox numbers and
Mm,
the leaves that get picked up, or the dog that walks past every day at the same time,
exactly.
or yeah, things like that. They become your curriculum, don't they?
Well, the definition of curriculum,
Mm.
interactions, routines,
Yeah,
and the events.
yeah,
And when you're talking about the letterbox, educators will, oh, I just heard the postie. Let's go out and see the letters. So
yeah,
all of that, they might decide to write to their family or invite them to a special day and write the letters, post the letters. They don't
Yeah.
have to go through all this palaver that long daycare
Yeah.
services do. Of course, they have to do a risk assessment like everyone else, but as long as the elements are the same, they don't have to change that risk assessment for the whole 12 months. So they're out and about more than any other educator in any service. They do it
Yeah.
so well because they do it daily.
Yeah. Such a good reminder. And one of the routines we haven't touched on is meal times when we think
Mm,
about having a meal together and opportunities there for intentionality around learning. What things
mm.
have you noticed have been really beautiful at this time of the day?
Particularly from educators that were born overseas, they often cook for the children. And when I walk in, the smells are just so comforting and beautiful. Some educators don't cook for the children. The children provide their own lunches, but they might do, say, morning tea with the children, like get the children to cut up fruit. So each educator is different, but one thing, it's always together and it's always children contributing to setting the table, etc. Sometimes they'll do it outside, sometimes they'll do it inside. It
Mm,
depends if some children are asleep or some children aren't hungry, they might have it later. But they
yeah,
usually have it together and the children can go to the fridge and get it themselves
yeah, love
and
that.
pour their own drinks and with the outside play, often it's depending on how the home is set up, they can have the door open so it's indoor and outdoor. And people
Yeah,
are probably thinking, oh my goodness, what about active supervision with one staff, well, one person with 7 educators? The educator knows those children the best. There
yeah,
might be, say, Apple and Phoenix outside in the sandpit. They're 5 years old. They're very competent together. So
yeah,
the educator might be helping Mercedes inside washing her hands. But if it
yeah,
was, say, Chappelle outside by herself, the educator would encourage Chappelle to come in while she's dealing with the other children, knowing that Chappelle may, you know, do something that is
yeah,
unsafe. So
yeah,
that's where they know every single child. So the routines and the rituals are
yeah,
depending on, because they have different children every day as well.
yeah.
Mm,
And it's like that preparation work, the invisible, right? The preparation and the organization work that sits
mm,
underneath that is
yeah.
such a premise in relationship, so it flows well.
Exactly.
Yeah,
The day flows beautifully. Having said that, of course, there's children who are new to the home, to the family daycare home, and so the educator has to spend the time observing what works, what doesn't work, and
yeah,
so then, but within a couple of days, usually the child watches the others,
yeah,
and the home environment is usually so calm and very similar to the home, where
yeah,
they're from. And it's
yeah,
not as overwhelming for some children. That's what I
yeah.
was saying with one of mine, particularly. Why didn't I know about family daycare for them?
Yeah, and I guess there's less of a barrier around bringing things from home, perhaps if there's
Yes.
security for children and things like this. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. They're encouraged to bring things at home from
yeah,
home. Yeah.
yeah. I
Because
love
they
that.
all share their resources and their toys, etc. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Louise, thank you so much for sharing some insights. And I think it's
Pleasure.
just such an acknowledgement of family daycare educators and how, um, their day-to-day life and curriculum and routines is such an opportunity.
Oh, children are just so lucky to be part of a good quality family daycare home.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, Louise.
Bye.
Bye.